Welcome to Sunshine Art and Drawing. As promised, this is an extra video showing you how to make a pom-pom yourself. Alright, let's get started. So what you're going to need is literally some cardboard, this is just a food package, and some wool. You'll need to put a circle on this cardboard. So I used a compass, which is a little bit tricky, but you could also use just a plate or anything that is circular and just trace around it. You want to use it on the flattest part of the cardboard. So here you can see I'm kind of avoiding where the creases are and just putting it on the flat part of the cardboard. This texture just really did not want to work on this sort of shiny design. But in the end I got a circle on there. Doesn't have to be very neat. It just needs to be like a traced circle you can cut out. So cut out your circle and you'll want to have two of them. So as you can see, I cut out two, and now I'm cutting a small cross and then cutting the centers of them out. So you've got two donut shapes. That's what you're aiming for. They don't have to be super neat. They just need to be about the same size. Now take your ball of wool, and you can use any wool you want. You can use regular wool like I am, or you can use that really fluffy wool that you can buy that's like feathery. You can use whatever you want. It'll turn out just as cool. And you want to make yourself a really small ball of wool. So here I'm going to speed it up, but as you can see, I'm just making a little ball of wool. It needs to fit through the center of the donut shape. So once you've finished winding it up, trim off any excess and pop it to the side. Grab both of your pieces. It doesn't matter which way up, but they just need to lay flat against each other. And then you need to take your ball of wool, take the end of it, wrap it around from the center to the outside, and tie a little knot in it there. It just helps keep the two pieces of card together and also helps it so it doesn't unravel as you're doing it. It makes sure it stays. If you want to, when you're finished, you can cut this knot out later. It really won't affect anything. And then this is where you begin. This is probably the longer process. So you might want to put on a video or put on some music, because this is maybe going to take you probably about half an hour. But you want to kind of work your way around, wrapping the wool around the donut from the center to the outside, and just work your way around the circle. You can do it in small sections if you want to make it very thick before moving on, or you can do it as I've done, which is just working around it over and over, layering the wool. Either way will work. It's just you need to make it so thick that you cannot see the cardboard through it. So you want to keep going around maybe 2 to 3 layers of wool if you're just working around. And if you run out of wool with a little ball, you can just make another little ball and do the same thing again. If it gets kind of tangled, just unravel it and rewrap it up. I'm getting close to the end here anyway. So I ended up making probably about 2 thick layers of wool all the way around until I couldn't see the cardboard anymore. That's just a really good indication that it's thick enough. It'll still be bendable and movable. You're just going to make sure you can't see any cardboard through the spaces in the wool, and just remove any bits of fluff that you've picked up and make a small space by pushing it aside until you can see the cardboard, just a little gap, and this is where you're going to put the scissors in to start cutting. So you need to get the scissors in and underneath the wool and cut through all the layers and sort of pinch the wool together so it stays in place as you're going along. It'll usually stay wrapped against it as long as you don't bump it, and then once you get to about almost all the way, take a strand of wool and tuck it in between the two pieces of card. You might need to just make a little space, and you want to wrap that underneath and bring it all the way to the top of where you're cutting, and that will just make sure that if it does start to come apart as you get towards the end, it doesn't fall apart completely. It's got that little bit of strand of wool to kind of hold it together as the paper comes apart when you finish. And do a wrap around once, cross the two threads over and wrap it again. That just gives it some extra strength. Bring the two pieces together at the top and just make sure they're nice and flat against the wool on the inside. Want to tie a knot and then just gently pull it together, and that will pull it together into the pom-pom shape. Just work slowly just so none of it falls out. You don't have anything where it flips over or anything like that, and pull it as tight as you can. Now you might need a hand with this one for someone to help you out pulling this quite tightly. Then you want to tie another knot. You might need someone to pop their finger there to do it, or you can just do it like I did and just tie it really quickly and hope that it doesn't come undone very much. Take off your pieces of cardboard, and that's why you use cardboard, because it does get a bit sort of destroyed. It's not something that's kind of reusable, but you could definitely maybe make 1 or 2 more pom-poms before the cardboard will just break down. I think it's the wrapping that kind of bends the cardboard a bit. But that is your completed pom-pom. So get rid of any sort of excess bits of fluff or cardboard, and you want to fluff it out with your fingertips, which is what I'm doing, and just make sure that they're quite securely put in, and that the sort of strand that is in the center there is very tight. That's what I was checking there, and making sure that the knot is tied up really well. The last thing you want is for when you're playing with it, for it to sort of come apart and then you've got strands of wool everywhere. Definitely don't want that. So I'm just making sure it's really well tied. Don't need to tie anymore. Very tightly tied. And then we're going to give it a haircut. So fluff it out with your fingertips. Make sure there are no like little bits of fluff or anything like that in there, so it's nice and neat. And you can roll it in your hands like this to kind of fluff it right out so that it gets that circular shape. And then we want to trim all of this excess wool off. So grab yourself a pair of scissors and just trim off that little bit of wool for the 2 strands there. And you're pretty much done. You just want to sort of shape it and cut it with a pair of scissors just to give it a bit more sort of round shape, which is what I've done here. And once you've given it a really good shape, it's pretty much ready to go, ready to play with or to decorate. You can add like a little loop on there and then hang it off your bag, anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and you have a sunshiny day. Thanks. Bye.